The galaxy had seen many rising species, but few had caught the attention of the Valthari Dominion. The Valthari were a proud and ancient empire, their fleet stretching across countless star systems. They were tall, fierce, and feared. To them, most younger civilizations were nothing more than children trying to play at power. But humanity was different. In less than 2 centuries since reaching the stars, humans had spread far and wide, building colonies, trade routes, and alliances. Some saw them as reckless, others as bold, yet no one denied their determination. The Valthari, however, viewed them with suspicion. To the Valthari, humans were intruders in a galaxy that already had its rulers. And so, on the neutral station called Carrion's Edge, the first official meeting between humans and the Valthari Dominion was arranged. The station floated between their territories, an enormous hub built of steel and glass, glowing with the lights of many species who gathered there for trade and diplomacy. The human delegation arrived aboard the Horizon Dawn, a sleek ship painted white and silver. It carried only a handful of diplomats, scientists, and security officers. Their leader was Captain Elias Warren, a tall man in his mid-30s with sharp eyes and a calm voice. His orders were simple but heavy with meaning: represent humanity with dignity and secure peace if possible. As the airlocks opened, the humans walked into the station's main hall. Alien species of all shapes and sizes turned to watch. Whispers followed them, some curious, some doubtful. The humans were still considered newcomers after all. At the far end of the hall stood the Valthari delegation. At their center was Princess Serenia Valtharian, the second heir of the Dominion throne. She was tall, nearly a head above Elias, with a commanding presence. Her silver-blue skin shimmered under the station's lights, and her long, dark hair was braided in the Valthari warrior style. Her armor, though ceremonial, gleamed with etched markings of her house. She did not walk like someone here to negotiate. She walked like someone ready for war. Elias approached, his team just behind him. He offered a respectful bow, following the protocol studied for months. "Princess Serenia, it is an honor to finally meet you," he said, voice steady. The princess's golden eyes narrowed slightly. She did not return the bow. Instead, she raised her chin, studying him as one might study a curious animal. Her guards shifted uneasily, their sharp weapons visible even in this peaceful hall. "You are bold to stand before me, human," she said. Her voice was smooth but carried the weight of iron. "Boldness is not always wisdom." Elias held his ground. "Humanity seeks friendship, not conflict. We believe the galaxy is stronger when its peoples work together." Her lips curved, but it was not a smile. "Friendship," she repeated as if tasting the word. Then she stepped closer, her gaze locking onto his. The hall fell silent, all other sounds fading as the tension rose. She leaned slightly forward and said, in a voice that echoed through the chamber, "Touch me once, and I won't spare you, human." The word struck like a blade. Every alien in the hall froze. The human team stiffened, unsure if their mission had already failed. Elias did not flinch, though inside he felt a storm of emotions. He had been warned that the Valthari were proud, that they respected strength above all else. But to be threatened so directly in the very first moment of their meeting left him speechless. Princess Serenia did not move further. She simply turned her head slightly, as if she had already dismissed him. To her, the warning was not just about touch, it was about distance. She wanted humanity to know their place. Before Elias could answer, the floor beneath them trembled. A deep rumble shook the hall, followed by the sound of alarms blaring in many languages. The lights flickered and a voice announced, "Warning. Hull breach in Section 12. All personnel, take cover." Chaos spread instantly. Smoke hissed from vents and station workers ran for safety. Guards from multiple factions shouted orders. The neutral meeting that was supposed to begin with words of diplomacy now began with disaster. Elias turned sharply to his team. "Secure our people. Move the civilians." His officers responded without hesitation. They began guiding alien families, small children with glowing eyes, merchants with heavy packs, towards safe corridors. Even though humans were strangers here, they acted with instinctive urgency, shielding the weak first. Serenia's guards surrounded her, ready to retreat. But to her surprise, she saw Elias and his humans stay behind, helping those who stumbled, carrying those too injured to walk. They risked themselves for people who were not even their own. For a moment, the princess hesitated. Her eyes narrowed, studying Elias as he lifted a collapsed beam with another human officer to free a trapped alien worker. He shouted orders, his voice strong and clear, not for power but for hope. "Get them out."
"Move, move!"
Elias barked, guiding the frightened crowd. Another tremor shook the hall. This one was stronger, making even the princess stumble. One of her guards reached to steady her, but she pushed him away and stood tall again. Still, she could not ignore the humans. "What are they doing?" one of her guards muttered. "Why risk themselves for others?" Serenia gave no answer. Inside, however, a small question formed in her mind. The hall finally cleared, leaving only the delegations and soldiers. Elias approached the princess again, sweat on his brow but determination unbroken. "Princess Serenia," he said firmly, "this station is under attack. Whoever caused this does not want peace between us. If we don't work together, we may not leave here alive." She regarded him carefully, her golden eyes gleaming. For the first time, her expression softened slightly, though only for a second. Then she straightened her shoulders, voice cold as before. "Very well, human," she said. "For now, our survival requires cooperation. But do not mistake necessity for trust." Elias nodded once. "Understood." In that moment, a fragile alliance was born. Not of friendship, but of survival. As they prepared to move deeper into the station, both knew this was only the beginning. Someone wanted war between their peoples. Someone had chosen this meeting to set fire to the fragile peace. But neither the human captain nor the Valthari princess realized just how much their paths would intertwine, and neither knew that her words, "Touch me once and I won't spare you, human," would echo far beyond this hall, shaping the fate of two civilizations. The alarm still echoed through the vast halls of Carrion's Edge. Red lights flashed on every wall, warning symbols dancing across glowing screens. The station, once buzzing with peaceful voices and trade, now trembled with chaos. Princess Serenia Valtharian walked swiftly with her guards, her long braids swaying like banners behind her. Every step of hers carried pride and command, even as the floor shook beneath her boots. Yet her golden eyes kept drifting toward the humans moving ahead of her. Captain Elias Warren led his people with calm control. His officers moved quickly but never abandoned anyone. When a young alien child stumbled in the crowd, Elias himself paused to lift the child into his arms, running to safety without hesitation. Serenia's guards noticed, but she did not comment. Still, her mind whispered, why would he risk himself for one so small and not of his own kind? The two delegations finally reached a sealed chamber. Thick doors slid shut, locking out the smoke and noise. The chamber belonged to the station's emergency command center. Screens glowed along the walls, showing damage across the structure. Engineers of many races scrambled to bring systems under control. A Valthari officer hurried to Serenia, bowing deeply. "Princess, the attackers disabled the main reactors. Section 12 has collapsed. We believe this was planned sabotage." Elias turned sharply. "Planned? By whom?" The officer glanced at him with disdain, but Serenia raised her hand, silencing her guard. She studied Elias carefully before speaking. "Someone does not wish for this meeting to succeed," she said. "If the Dominion and humanity are blamed for this disaster, war will ignite." Elias nodded grimly. "Which means whoever did this wants us to fight each other, and if we don't stop them, we might give them exactly what they want." Her gaze locked with his. For a moment, silence filled the room, the air heavy with unspoken truth. Then she turned to her officers. "Seal all Dominion ships. Double security. No one enters without my order." She looked back at Elias. "Human, you will do the same." Elias agreed. "Done, but more than defense, we need answers. We need to know who's behind this." Serenia tilted her head slightly. Her eyes narrowed as if she could not believe the human's boldness. "You speak as if you are my equal." Elias met her gaze without fear. "Right now, Princess, our enemies don't care about thrones or titles. They only care that humans and Valthari destroy one another. If you want survival, then yes, I will stand as your equal." The chamber went silent. Her guards bristled, their hands tightening on their weapons. No one had spoken to the princess that way before. Yet Serenia only studied him, her expression unreadable. Finally, she gave a sharp nod. "Very well. For now, we are bound by necessity. We will work together until the enemy is revealed." Elias allowed himself a small breath of relief. It was not trust, but it was a beginning. The investigation began quickly. The station's cameras showed masked figures planting charges along the reactors. Their movements were precise, their knowledge too detailed for simple criminals. Whoever they were, they had inside information. Humans and Valthari were assigned to patrol the damaged sections together. This pairing caused tension. The Dominion guards sneered at the smaller, weaker-looking humans. The humans, in turn, whispered about the arrogance of their towering allies. But Elias and Serenia both knew there was no other choice. Hours later, Elias found himself walking side by side with Serenia through a ruined corridor. Sparks crackled from torn wires above them. The smell of burned metal filled the air. This was no random attack, Elias said, scanning the scorch marks. They knew exactly where to strike. Serenia's golden eyes swept over the wreckage. Her voice was calm but sharp. Agreed, and they wanted survivors. Notice how the main command center was untouched. This was not destruction, it was theater. A stage to set us against each other. Elias looked at her with surprise. You see it too, her lips curved faintly. Do not sound so astonished, human. We Valthari are not blind. They moved further down the corridor. Suddenly the ground shook again, another explosion. Panels collapsed from the ceiling. Without thinking, Elias shoved Serenia aside, shielding her from falling debris. For one brief second, his hand touched her arm. Her body froze. His hand was steady, his grip firm but not harsh. It was the very thing she had forbidden in the hall. Her warning echoed in her memory. Touch me once and I won't spare you, human. The beam crashed to the ground beside them, sending dust into the air. Elias released her instantly, stepping back. His chest rose and fell quickly, but his eyes stayed calm. Are you hurt? He asked. Serenia stared at him for a long moment, silent. Her guards rushed forward, pulling her to her feet, glaring at the human captain. But Serenia raised her hand again, stopping them. She looked at Elias, her golden eyes searching his face. He had touched her. Not with arrogance, not with power, but with instinct to protect. For the first time, she did not know what to say. Finally, she turned her head sharply and walked forward. Do not think this changes anything, she said coldly. We are still not allies. Not truly, Elias said nothing. He simply followed, though inside he wondered if perhaps something had changed, even if she refused to admit it. Later, in the command center, new evidence was revealed. One of the masked saboteurs had been captured by joint patrols. Under questioning, he revealed only a fragment of truth. The war must begin. Humanity must fall before it rises. Before he could say more, he bit into a hidden capsule. The alien collapsed instantly, leaving nothing but unanswered questions. The engineers recovered one final clue, a fragment of code inside the weapon's control system. It bore the signature of a faction known only in whispers. The Veiled Conclave. They were an old enemy of the Dominion, and now perhaps of humanity too. Elias stood over the console, reading the reports. Serenia stood beside him, arms crossed. They want us to destroy each other, Elias said, and if we don't work together, we will. Serenia's eyes glimmered with something unreadable, pride, perhaps, or respect hidden beneath her iron mask. She spoke softly, almost to herself. Perhaps humans are not as weak as I thought. Elias turned to her. What was that? She snapped her head toward him, her expression sharp again. Nothing. Do not mishear me, human. But the words had already been spoken. As the night cycle fell over the station, both delegations prepared for the next step. The saboteurs had failed to start their war, but their shadow still lingered. Humanity and the Dominion would now hunt them together. Serenia sat alone in her chamber, her golden eyes staring at the stars beyond the glass. She remembered the moment in the corridor, the human's hand pulling her away from danger. Her own words echoed back at her. Touch me once, and I won't spare you, human. Yet he had touched her, and she had not spared him. Instead, for the first time, she wondered if perhaps the humans carried a strength her people had overlooked. And that thought unsettled her more than any enemy ever could. The station had survived its first wave of sabotage, but the air inside Carrion's Edge was still heavy with fear. Entire sections of the station were sealed off, leaving scars of smoke and broken steel. Crews worked day and night to repair what they could, but whispers spread faster than the engineers' tools. Some aliens claimed the humans had brought the attackers. Others whispered it was the Valthari. using sabotage as an excuse to crush their rivals. Mistrust spread like fire, and it was exactly what the hidden enemy wanted. Captain Elias Warren stood in the emergency command center, staring at the wide display of the station. Red zones flashed across the map, showing all the damaged areas. His team worked silently behind him, cross-checking logs and scanning for hidden signals. Princess Serenia entered with her guards, her armor gleaming even under the dim light. Every alien in the room turned when she arrived, her presence commanding silence. Elias glanced at her briefly, then returned to the screen. "We found something," one of the human officers said. The sabotage wasn't only physical. Someone also planted false transmissions in the station's network. They made it look like humans and Valthari were blaming each other. Elias crossed his arms. So they wanted more than just damage. They wanted us to suspect each other. Serenia stepped closer, her golden eyes fixed on the officer's console. "That is clever," she admitted. "Fear is a sharper weapon than fire." Her words carried weight, and for a brief moment Elias saw not just a princess, but a commander who had studied war all her life. Later that cycle, Elias and Serenia walked through a dim corridor together. They had chosen to inspect one of the sabotage sections themselves, away from the noise of their delegations. 2 guards followed behind at a distance, but otherwise it was quiet. The walls were blackened by fire. The floor was marked with deep claw-like scratches where heavy machinery had been dragged. Pieces of broken drones littered the corners. Elias crouched beside one of the drones, running his hand along the scorched metal. "This isn't station tech," he said. "Too advanced for smugglers, but not Dominion design either." Serenia knelt beside him, her movements graceful but sharp. She picked up a fragment of the drone's weapon and studied it closely. Symbols glowed faintly on the surface, strange markings that looked almost alive. "The Veiled Conclave," she said quietly. "I have heard whispers of them. An ancient faction that thrives in shadows. My father believes they died out long ago." Elias frowned. "Looks like they're alive enough to try to start a war between us." She looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark corridor. "If it is truly them, then both our peoples are in danger. The Conclave does not strike without purpose. They want chaos so they can control what rises from the ashes." Elias stood brushing dust from his uniform. "Then we don't have a choice. We find them or they'll keep pushing us into a war we don't want." Serenia gave a faint smile, not warm but sharp, like the edge of a blade. "Perhaps you are not as blind as I thought, human." Elias smirked slightly. "I'll take that as a compliment." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not." As they moved deeper into the damaged section, they found a sealed door with strange energy humming across its surface. Elias placed a scanner against it, but the readings flickered wildly. "This isn't standard shielding," he muttered. "It's alive almost." Serenia stepped forward, placing her armored hand against the surface. For a moment, her expression changed. Her lips pressed together and her eyes darkened. "This is Conclave work," she whispered. "I have seen descriptions in forbidden records. They use living circuits, technology grown from flesh and crystal. Dangerous and unpredictable." Elias studied her carefully. She spoke with certainty, not pride. This was knowledge she should not have shared so openly. For a moment he realized she was lowering her guard. Before he could speak, the door shuddered. A sharp crack echoed and the energy dissolved. From the darkness inside, shapes moved. Tall, thin figures with smooth black armor stepped out. Their faces were hidden by featureless masks, glowing with faint white symbols. Their movements were silent, almost too silent, as if the sound itself feared them. Serenia's guards raised their weapons. Elias drew his sidearm. The figures did not speak. They simply raised their hands, and from their palms bright energy blades extended, humming with deadly light. Serenia drew her own weapon, a curved blade of Valthari steel that glimmered with energy. She stood tall, her voice sharp as a command. "Conclave," she said. "You hide no longer." The figures lunged. The fight was swift and brutal. The Conclave moved like shadows, their strikes precise and silent. Elias fired his weapon, each shot lighting the corridor, but the enemies dodged with unnatural speed. Serenia's blade cut through the air with elegance and power. She fought like a storm, each strike filled with the pride of her people. Her guards fought beside her, holding the line, but the Conclave were strong. Too strong. For every one that fell, another seemed to appear from the dark. Elias ducked under a strike, rolling across the floor and firing at close range. The blast hit one of the figures square in the chest, shattering its mask. Behind the mask there was no face, only a swirling void of light and shadow. Elias froze for half a second, shaken by what he saw. Serenia noticed. "Do not stop," she shouted, her voice echoing like thunder. Elias steadied himself and fired again, pushing through his fear. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, the last of the conclave figures collapsed, dissolving into ash that vanished into the air. The corridor fell silent again. Breathing hard, Elias lowered his weapon. He glanced at Serenia. Her blade dripped with faint sparks of energy, her armor scorched but her stance unbroken. "You fight well," he said, almost without thinking. She looked at him sharply, her face unreadable. Then, to his surprise, she gave the smallest nod. "And you do not run, that is unusual for your kind," Elias smiled faintly. "We don't run when it matters." Back in the command center, they reported what they had seen. Many doubted their words. Some claimed the conclave was only a myth, a story used to frighten children, but the fragments they brought back, the living circuits, the strange weapons, were proof enough. Serenia stood before her officers, her voice calm but firm. "The conclave seeks war. They will not stop until humanity and the Dominion destroy one another. We must act before they strike again." Elias stood beside her, facing his own people. "If we fight separately, we lose. But if we stand together, we have a chance." For the first time, their voices joined in unity. That night, Elias found himself unable to sleep. He stood near a window watching the stars. The image of the mask breaking haunted him, the swirling void where a face should have been. What kind of enemy were they facing? Behind him, the chamber door opened. Serenia stepped inside quietly, her armor removed, wearing a simple robe of dark cloth. Without her armor, she seemed less like an untouchable warrior, and more like a woman carrying a heavy burden. "You cannot sleep either," she said. Elias shook his head. "Not after what we saw." She joined him at the window, standing with her arms crossed. For a moment, there was no hostility, only silence between them. "The conclave is older than both our peoples," she said softly. "If they rise again, the galaxy will drown in shadow. Even the Dominion cannot stand alone against them." Elias turned to her. "Then we stand together." She looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then very quietly, she answered, "Perhaps." And so the fragile alliance between human and Valthari deepened, not by trust, but by necessity. Yet beneath the cold words, something was shifting. The princess who had once sworn never to spare a human now stood beside one, staring into the same stars, facing the same enemy. Neither of them knew it yet. But this was the beginning of something that would change the fate of both their worlds forever. The station had become a war zone of shadows and tension. The first attack by the conclave had been survived, but it was only a warning. Every corridor hummed with nervous energy. Every officer, human and Valthari alike, knew the enemy could strike at any moment. Captain Elias Warren moved through the command center, reviewing security feeds. Despite the chaos, he remained calm. Calm had saved lives before, and it would save more now. His team worked quickly, analyzing every fragment of data from the corridors they had cleared. Princess Serenia entered, flanked by her guards. Her armor was marked with scorch lines, a reminder of the last battle, yet her posture remained perfect, her head held high. She walked directly to Elias, who did not flinch under her piercing golden gaze. "The conclave strikes again," she said, her voice steady but tinged with concern. "They have sent a second wave. I have intercepted messages indicating that they have infiltrated the lower sectors. Civilians are at risk," Elias nodded. "We'll evacuate them, but this time we strike preemptively. We need to catch them before they can disappear again." Serenia raised an eyebrow. "You speak boldly, human. You know our history with them. Even Dominion fleets fail against the conclave's traps." Elias smiled faintly. "Then perhaps the human approach will succeed." Her lips twitched at the corner, but she said nothing. The tension between pride and grudging respect hung thick in the air. As evacuation plans were set, an alarm blared suddenly, louder and sharper than before. A massive section of the station shook violently and screams filled the air. Serena's guards drew their weapons instantly. Elias grabbed a portable scanner and sprinted toward the source, the human team following closely. "What is it?" Serena demanded. "The lower sector reactors," One engineer yelled. The conclave has activated a secondary charge. If it goes off, it will destroy this entire section. Without thinking, Elias ran toward the reactor core. Serenia followed, her guards trying to restrain her. Princess, you can't go in there. I am going, she snapped. If we wait, we die. Stay behind if you fear death, Elias shook his head. I don't fear death, but I refuse to watch innocents die while standing aside. They ran side by side, dodging falling debris and sparks. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning metal. The secondary charges had been set with precision, timed to explode before evacuation could succeed. Near the reactor, a beam of the station's structure fell suddenly. Serenia froze, caught under the weight of the metal. Serena, Elias yelled, sprinting forward. He lifted the beam with all his strength, freeing her instantly. His hand brushed her arm as he pulled her to safety. For the second time, she felt his touch. Her earlier warning came to mind. Touch me once, and I won't spare you, human. Yet his hand had only saved her. He had not dominated, not threatened. He had acted with care and courage. For a moment, Serenia's golden eyes widened, and she was left speechless. Elias released her instantly. Are you hurt? He asked. She stood upright, brushing dust from her robes. Her face remained calm, but inside a whirlwind of thoughts brewed. She could not admit it, yet she felt something shifting, something dangerous yet familiar. I am unharmed, she said finally. Do not assume this changes anything. Elias only nodded. He had learned by now that words could be less important than action. At the reactor core, both delegations worked frantically. Humans used their knowledge of improvisation and technology. Valthari used their raw strength and discipline. Together they formed a system neither could have built alone. Elias, Serenia said, her voice sharp, use the override panel. The sequence must be entered precisely, or the entire core will detonate. Elias moved quickly, fingers flying across the panel. Sparks flew, alarms shrieked, and the core's temperature soared dangerously. Beside him, Serenia cut cables and removed obstacles with precision, her training evident in every movement. Almost there, Elias muttered, sweat dripping from his forehead. Suddenly, one of the conclave agents appeared, moving silently behind them. Elias fired, but the figure dodged with unnatural speed, lunging toward the core. Serena acted instantly, stepping between the agent and Elias. She swung her blade, energy glinting in the dim light. The figure screamed, a sound that was mechanical yet human-like, and disintegrated into ash. Elias turned to her. Are you all right? Serena lowered her blade, breathing heavily. I am, but your bravery borders on recklessness, human. You cannot always rely on others to save you. He smiled faintly. Neither can you. Yet here we are, alive. Her eyes softened, though only briefly. Do not think your words will make me grateful. This is necessity, nothing more. Even as she said it, she could not deny the truth. Humanity's courage had saved her and countless others. With the secondary charges disabled, the lower sector stabilized. Both delegations regrouped, checking on the injured and assisting survivors. Humans carried the weak, Valthari lifted debris, and together they ensured that not a single life was left behind. In the quiet moments afterward, Serenia approached Elias alone. Her golden eyes glimmered under the flickering lights. You humans, she began, then paused. Words failed her. Elias waited patiently. You do not fight for glory, she said finally. You fight for something more. I do not understand it yet, but it is dangerous in its own way. Elias looked at her calmly. It's called compassion. And yes, it can be dangerous, especially if someone underestimates it. For the first time, she allowed a small nod. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it meant something. Do not mistake this for trust, she warned. You and your kind may be brave, but you are still human. Fragile. Elias's lips curved into a faint smile. Fragile, perhaps. But we endure. That counts for more than size or strength. She said nothing, but inside she felt a stirring she had never expected. Humans were not just stubborn. They were unyielding even in the face of danger. And this unyielding spirit was something she could not dismiss. That night, as the station settled into uneasy quiet, reports came in from the upper decks. Another conclave agent had been spotted, this time moving through cargo sectors. The threat was far from over. Elias and Serenia met in the command center once more. Side by side, they studied the station's security grid. The hum of machinery and distant alarms filled the room. but neither spoke immediately. Finally, Serenia broke the silence. The Conclave is testing us. They are curious. They wish to see if humans and Valthari can work together, or if we will destroy each other first. Elias nodded. Then we show them we won't be divided. Not now, not ever. Her lips curved faintly, but she said nothing. Still, the thought lingered in her mind. Humans were unpredictable, unyielding, and in ways she did not yet understand. Dangerous in their own right. And perhaps that danger was not something to fear. As they left the command center, walking down a quiet corridor side by side, Elias glanced at Serenia. "You saved me earlier," he said quietly. "I wanted to return the favor." She looked straight ahead, her voice low and steady. "Do not mistake my survival for gratitude, human. This changes nothing." Yet her heart, though she would never admit it, acknowledged the unspoken bond forming between them. It was not trust, not yet, but it was a beginning. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Conclave watched through hidden eyes. They saw the humans' courage, the Valthari's precision, and the fragile alliance forming between them. And for the first time, they hesitated. Perhaps they had underestimated humanity after all. The station was quiet for the first time in cycles, but the calm felt fragile, as if the next second could shatter it. Captain Elias Warren moved through the corridors, his steps deliberate. Reports of sabotage were still pouring in, but the immediate threat had been contained. Yet he knew the Conclave had not revealed all of its plans. Princess Serenia walked beside him, her expression unreadable. Though the humans and Valthari had fought side by side before, this alliance was fragile. The princess still kept her pride and her distance, yet Elias noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. She was watching him closely, not with distrust but with curiosity. "We've contained most of the immediate threats," Elias said, "but I still don't understand them. The Conclave, who are they, really? What do they want?" Serenia stopped walking and turned to him. Her golden eyes seemed to pierce through him. "What they want is simple control. They thrive in chaos. They destroy alliances and feed on fear, yet even they underestimate humans." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You speak as if you know us already." Her gaze hardened. "I know what I have seen. Courage, determination, and the refusal to abandon anyone, even those who are not your own. That is something new, and it is dangerous. To them it is dangerous. To me, it is inconvenient." Elias nodded slowly. He had begun to realize that the Valthari's pride was more than armor. It was a lens through which they measured strength. But humans were not like them. Strength was not just about dominance. It was also about heart, ingenuity, and sacrifice. In the lower sectors of the station, the Conclave had left clues. Not much, but enough for humans and Valthari to follow. Strange crystals glowed faintly on the walls, and energy pulses traced hidden circuits through the station. It was subtle, almost invisible to those not trained to notice it. Elias studied one of the glowing traces. "This isn't just sabotage," he said. "They're marking us, testing us, learning our weaknesses." Serenia crouched beside him. "And you humans? You adapt. You improvise. That is why I have yet to see you fail. Even against my own expectations, you survive." He smiled faintly. "We're stubborn, and sometimes that stubbornness saves lives." For a moment, Serenia looked at him as if weighing the weight of his words. Then she rose, her posture sharp once more. "Do not mistake my observations for praise. It is a fact, nothing more. Humans endure, but they remain fragile. Fragility is still a weakness." Elias only nodded. He had learned that battles were often won by actions, not arguments. The search led them to a hidden chamber beneath the station. The entrance was sealed by both Valthari and human security protocols. It had been untouched for decades, yet the Conclave had broken in. The air inside was cold and still, with a faint hum vibrating from the walls. Inside, they found remnants of an ancient conflict. Holographic displays flickered, showing battles between civilizations long gone. The symbols and scripts were unfamiliar to humans, yet Serenia recognized them instantly. "These archives," she whispered. "They belonged to the old Galactic Alliance, an alliance that included humans, long before your species spread into space." Elias blinked in disbelief. "Humans were part of a galactic alliance? Before we even left Earth?" Serenia nodded. "Not your current humanity, but your ancestors. They were known for their unique qualities, resilience, empathy, and ingenuity. Those who remembered feared what humans could become if left unchecked. The Conclave knows this. They want to erase humanity before it rises again. The revelation hit Elias hard. Everything he had believed about humanity's place in the galaxy suddenly felt larger, more important. His people were not insignificant. They were once part of something far greater, and the galaxy had taken notice. As they explored the chamber further, a series of recordings activated. A holographic figure emerged, its form humanoid but alien in every way. Its voice was calm and measured. Humans, your ancestors once walked among us. They shaped the tides of the galaxy, yet their potential was feared. Those who survived hid, waiting for the right time to rise again. The Conclave seeks to prevent this, but you are the living memory of what they once were. Elias listened, awestruck. Then we are not weak. We are part of something greater. Serenia's eyes narrowed. Potential does not guarantee survival. The Conclave will strike again, and this time they will not hold back. Elias looked at her. Then we fight. Together. For a moment the princess said nothing. Then she stepped closer, lowering her voice. Do not assume this alliance is friendship. It is survival, but perhaps your kind is worth watching. The unspoken acknowledgement between them was stronger than any words. Humanity was no longer merely surviving, it was becoming a force in the galaxy. Suddenly the station shook violently. The Conclave had detected the humans and Valthari uncovering the chamber. Security feeds showed fleets moving toward the station, black ships of unknown size and power. Their intent was clear. Eliminate both humans and Valthari before they could rise. Elias and Serenia moved quickly, coordinating defenses. Humans set traps using improvised technology, while Valthari prepared their fleet and warriors for battle. Despite their differences, they communicated with an efficiency that surprised even themselves. This is more than a test, Elias said, watching the black ships on the display. They want a war that will destroy us both. Serenia's golden eyes gleamed. Then we must show them that humans are not to be destroyed so easily. The moment was tense. Both leaders understood that the coming battle would be unlike any they had faced. Yet for the first time Elias saw a glimpse of respect in the princess. Not trust, but acknowledgement. Humans had proven their worth through courage, ingenuity, and compassion. As preparations continued, Elias found himself reflecting on the journey so far. Humanity had been underestimated by almost every civilization they encountered. Yet their refusal to abandon others, their ability to adapt, and their willingness to risk everything for the weak had earned them an unexpected place in galactic history. Serenia approached him silently, watching the humans set defensive measures. You do not fight like your people of legend, she said softly. You fight differently. You do not seek power. You seek to survive and protect. And yet it is powerful. Elias looked at her. That's the only way we know how to fight. We may be fragile, but we endure. And sometimes endurance is stronger than steel. She said nothing for a long moment. Finally, she nodded almost imperceptibly. Perhaps. But do not believe this changes everything between us. Fragility remains human. Remember that, he smiled faintly. And yet, we endure. Later, as the black ships closed in, both humans and Valthari prepared for the coming confrontation. Strategies were discussed, traps were set, and every possible contingency planned. It was a delicate balance of technology, courage, and timing. Elias and Serenia stood side by side at the station's observation deck, looking out at the approaching fleet. For the first time, they felt the weight of history upon them. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, but now, humanity would rise. The Conclave believes we are weak, Elias said quietly. Serenia's eyes glimmered. Perhaps they are wrong. The stars beyond the observation deck shimmered like a promise. Humanity was no longer a small, fragile species. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would soon see what made them special, and neither the Conclave nor the Dominion, or any who doubted, would forget it.